Regular meeting number 46 will now come to order. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Councilmember Remy, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening, council has a treat. My pastor is here to pray with us this evening. We have Pastor Eugene Gibson, pastor of Mount Olivet Baptist Church. Pastor, welcome to council.
Thank you, sir. Shall we pray? God of mercy and God of love, thou who art the creator of all things, including this world and every person in it, whether we call you Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, the universe, or simply a higher power, we come this afternoon as brothers and sisters of your divine providence. We thank you for this assembly and all the people that have been elected and appointed to serve on the behalf of hundreds of thousands of Columbus residents, some of who are here today. We admit that we've all come short in our care, compassion, and concern for our neighbors. We've wasted opportunities to do good by looking the other way when we have seen and heard the sufferings of people in need. We also admit that there may be times that we have possibly misused the power that you've entrusted us with by our decision or indecision. For this, we are sorry. So now, we appeal to your loving grace and the excellency of your most tender mercies, that we might give our best efforts to treat all humanity with equity and understand that all your people are worthy of your perfect love that casts out all fear, a divine love that gives light, hope, purpose, and liberates and redeems us all. In your magnificent name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved, and this week's communications received by the city clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll go around the dais to hear any updates or resolutions from colleagues, starting with Councilmember Bangston. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Just one announcement. Just wanted to thank all city employees and the community. We just wrapped up Sickle Cell Awareness Month, and our office set a goal to get 150 blood donations, and proud to say that we got 159. So thank you to our directors and to the community for coming out. And that equates to saving approximately 477 people's lives. So really job well done. Even though Sickle Cell Awareness Month may be over, the need for blood is still out there. So in your free time, if you're available, please go visit the Red Cross or Varsity Blood Centers and donate regularly. So again, thank you to the community. Thank you to all the directors and our wonderful staff at the City of Columbus for helping us reach that goal and save lives. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Rosa de Padilla.
Thank you, Council President. It is still Latino Heritage Month. It spans 2 months from September 15th until October 15th, and we have 2 events coming up. And our first event that I want to make sure that we put on folks' radar and we invite folks out to is actually happening this Thursday on October 5th, and it is both in conjunction with my office, Councilmember Bankston's office, and our Office of Diversity and Inclusion. We did this specifically because as we looked at Latino Heritage Month, we had an event that was a economic driver and a celebratory event through our parade. We have a policy event that we just had last week. We have an art show that I'll talk about in just a moment, but we wanted to provide something for businesses. And so while this certification event is open to everyone in the community, we wanted to have a focus on Latinos throughout the month. Latinos earned a total of $22 billion in the state of Ohio. We're responsible for 9.2% of Ohio's growth within this decade. We've tripled since the 80s, the population size. And if you took the all of the Latinos in the U.S. and put them in one area, we'd be the 5th largest economy in the world. And when you think about Central Ohio, Latinos are the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs of color. So I would like to hand it over to Director Jenkins to talk a little bit more about the certification event and what folks, or not, the networking event and what folks can expect. Director.
Thank you, Council Member. Thank you, Council. So the networking event is taking place at Huntington Club at Lower.com Field. This is 96 Columbus Crew Way. It'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. And what we're doing is we're showcasing several of our departments from Department of Development, Department of Finance and Management, Department of Health, Department of Public Utilities, Department of Public Service, and Department of Recreation and Parks as it relates to a lot of the work that we're doing in the city. Around the city, we are encouraging all of our small businesses to come engage with us. We will also have services and support systems for small businesses at this event.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Bankston, for your partnership on this endeavor. So far, we have about 250 folks confirmed. Good thing it's at the Crew Stadium because we got lots of seats. So if folks are interested, please RSVP and let us know that you would like to come out. You can, for more information, you can reach out to my office, to Amaris Lemus at ASLEMUS@columbus.gov. And then secondly, we would like to have folks save the date for next weekend, next Friday, the 13th. It's a lucky day, I promise, for the Latino Art Show. We're culminating the month and partnering with Good Market and El Mercadito to sponsor 20 vendors in conjunction with Franklinton Friday. We will also have food and music, performing artists. Last year, the show netted $10,000 for the artists that sold their work. We hope this year to match and even double that. So I hope folks will come out. We will also be honoring community members through the Esperanza, that means Hope, Community Awards that are these are folks who have been nominated through the community for their efforts widely in the Latino and Greater Columbus community. So I hope folks will join us on the 13th. And with that, that's all for me this evening. Thanks, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Brown. President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Council President. At this time, I'd like to invite Susan Wilson and her family and anyone else you'd like to invite to the podium. As I introduce Resolution 0184X-2023 to honor and celebrate the retirement of Susan Wilson and congratulate her on her service to the City of Columbus. This council recognizes Susan Wilson for her outstanding service toward the betterment of the City of Columbus by giving her skills, energy, time, and commitment in service to everyone in the City of Columbus, but in particular to her members from Communication Workers of America Local 4502 here in Columbus. Susan holds an Executive Master's of Business Administration from Ohio University, go Bobcats, and a Bachelor of Science from University of Rio Grande. Susan was elected by her fellow union members to the position of president and has proudly served president of that local uplifting voices in the interest of workers, not only in Columbus, but the entire region here in Central Ohio. She served on several contract negotiation teams fighting for better wages, improved paid leave, and training opportunities for her members. Particularly want to thank her for all the work that she put in with former Councilor Liz Brown, who's here today, on her paid family leave policy, which continues to be updated even up to until, I believe, our last council meeting. So certainly a legacy that will live on. Susan was also incredibly instrumental in securing hero pay for her members who were deemed essential or had consistent and ongoing contact with our residents during the COVID-19 pandemic. Susan's leadership in the Central Ohio labor community is going to be greatly, greatly missed. She's been a fierce advocate for not only her members, but the entire community. And I can't say enough my thanks to Susan for not only fiercely advocating for her members, but ensuring that when we have issues come before council, you're either one phone call away or you've already called us, which is something that I have incredibly valued during my time on council, to have a labor leader that is so incredibly accessible and also can think through not only how policies affect your members, but how it affects the city as a whole. And certainly anyone who served in a leadership position during the pandemic, those were hard times and certainly very, very difficult to make sure that you were doing your best to protect your members while also keeping the city functioning. And I remember a number of conversations during those times in which those were very hard to do both of those things at the same time. And you stepped up, your members stepped up to figure out a way to make sure that we could keep this city running. And I will never forget, your ability to very gracefully navigate those waters here at the city of Columbus. And I think I speak for everyone on council when we just appreciate you as a leader, as a labor leader, and certainly as someone that has served Columbus incredibly well during your time, not only as a city employee, but as an elected labor leader in Columbus. We've been very fortunate to have you as a voice of workers at the city of Columbus. So with that, we'd certainly love to pause and turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President Hardin. Thank you, Council Member Dorrance, and the rest of the council. This is an honor. However, no one does this job alone, as many of you know. I am thankful for our wonderful members that do such incredible work. I've been amazed time and time again by their dedication to the city and the public they serve. It has been an honor and a privilege to have served the professional, technical, and middle management personnel of the city. I would like to thank my husband, Will, for all he has given up, delayed, canceled, rescheduled to accommodate my job of being a union president. We were in this together. I served with Dave McCune, who taught me about running a union and what it means truly to be union. With Jim Weber, who taught me a thing or two about service and commitment and going the extra mile, and most recently with Hugh Williams, who taught me not to be afraid to kick all the tires on a deal and to always be willing to ask for more. I was also blessed with a great secretary and treasurer and a number of amazing board members and office staff. I've received a great deal of support from CWA, especially from Linda Hinton, CWA District 4 Vice President, and Margaret Cook, CWA Vice President of Public Sector, Healthcare, and Education Workers, and their staff. Both of these women were always willing to help me when I needed it. Central Labor Council Director Mark Fluharty and Assistant Director Jamie Shoemaker, I truly appreciated their support, guidance, and friendship. Councilmember Dorrance, I believe you can fully understand the importance of a strong legal advisor, and I had that in attorneys John Wentz and Sarah Ingalls. Also, I'm thankful for the solidarity with the other city unions, ASME Local 1632, 2192, or 91, correction, FOP Lodge 9, FOP OLC, and IAFF 67. I will miss them all. January 2024 will mark 30 years since a group of city employees voted to form our union. Although many of the same battles that we fought in the beginning, we continue to fight today. But what is different is the number of organizations out there working to make unions go away, and efforts they are willing to go to in an attempt to make this happen is unbelievable. To our membership, I say, do not be fooled. Not a one of them will do anything to put an extra dollar in your wallet. Unions are vital to maintaining the middle class. And to those that hear this and do not have a union, I encourage you to get yourself one. I have been very fortunate and blessed to have worked for the City of Columbus in the Department of Public Utilities. The department is amazing, providing services that most of us take for granted. Thank you for honoring my service as a union president and my years of service to the city. I feel blessed and proud to be part of such a wonderful organization that serves such a vibrant city. Thank you.
Thank you, President Wilson. I want to pause and see if my colleagues have anything they'd like to add. Councilman Remy?
Sure. Well, congratulations. It's been just an absolute joy and pleasure to work with you, and wish you all the best in retirement and hopefully get a lot of traveling done. But just thank you. Thank you on behalf of the workers for the City of Columbus. Thank you for your work transcending beyond just your local. And you mentioned so many others that you collaborated with throughout your tenure. And so we went through a lot during COVID. We've been through a couple of negotiations, and I'm just excited for you and your future, and I'm going to miss working with you immensely. So best of luck and congratulations.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bankston?
Madam President, my president, most folks know, and they've heard me say before I became elected, I was working in the City of Columbus, Department of Neighborhoods, and I was a proud CWA member. And although, because I'm elected, I can't join a union, I'm still a proud CWA member. I'll carry that badge with me. But just want to say congratulations to you on retirement, much deserved, and really want to thank you. When I think about what Councilmember Dorans just read off, it's under your leadership and this union's leadership that has been a catalyst that has led for so many other organizing groups in the City of Columbus. So it's your work around pay equity, your work around paid family leave that really blazed a trail for us to do that citywide. And so thank you for being a catalyst. Thank you for being a leader in this space. And please, please don't reschedule anything else. Take this time and enjoy yourself. It's much deserved. Congratulations.
So my dad was a union member. My mother-in-law was a union organizer. And the thing that I know to be true is that union work is people work and people work is love work. And I think you are the embodiment of that. And you represent the people that literally make this city run every day. When we talked about hero pay, it's because they truly were showing up every day, quite literally keeping the lights on in the city and making the city run. And so those folks often, people don't always see them. People see us often and think of us as the City of Columbus, but you all are truly the City of Columbus, and you represented all of those folks and ensured that they had the things that they needed to take care of themselves and to take care of their families. And so very selfishly, whenever anyone leaves us, we think about the things that we lose and not everything that the people who have led, who have been brave, and who have given so much are gaining. And so I'm very happy for the things that you will gain. And we often say things like there's big shoes to fill, and I would venture to say there is a big legacy to build upon. And so thank you for leaving us with that legacy, and thank you for leaving our people quite better and in a better position than when you took this role.
Susan, also, by the way, one can't possibly say thank you for all the times that you put in to try and help make Columbus a better place. It is truly acknowledged. Anybody who's spent 30 years doing this work, you gave up a lot, and that gentleman standing beside you gave up a lot. As the council president likes to say, this is a family affair. And again, not only thank you to you, but also to your husband, and enjoy your retirement, okay?
Thank you.
Yes.
Not like Mitch. Enjoying your retirement.
And Ms. Susan, I would just say, because everyone said so much, I just want to say thank you for being proof positive that you can be kind and effective as well.
That is the Susan that I have known as leader of this union, someone who has been compassionate and very effective. And so I thank you for your leadership, and I thank you for the example that you have set for folks who will come behind you. And you have earned your retirement, so enjoy.
Thank you. May God bless all of you.
Thank you.
Susan, don't go anywhere quite yet. So before I call for a vote on the resolution, I do want to say, in classic Susan Wilson fashion, you spent your time at the podium thanking others for the work that you've done. That's classic you. But then also taking one of the last times you have in front of this body to advocate for individuals to form a union themselves and enjoy the benefits and the collective bargaining that you all have. So say one of the last moments in front of this body, you as union president, you are classic you. So thank you for that. And also, I do want to note, talking about dragging her and not canceling appointments, today's Susan's birthday as well. So we dragged her out for her So we're going to make this real quick so you can go enjoy your birthday as well. So with that, Council President, I move for adoption.
Second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
And that is all I have, Council President.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Remy.
Thank you so much, Council President Harden. I have two resolutions today, but first, an important announcement. Later this evening, we will have a Breast Cancer Awareness Month lighting ceremony outside of City Hall at 7:30. Everyone here is invited. For those of you at home, we will be streaming the event live on Facebook and YouTube. I am thankful to the American Cancer Society for being wonderful partners in helping spread awareness with their annual work, as well as their Making Strides work during the month of October. And speaking of, I would like to invite up our partners from the American Cancer Society to the podium as I read Resolution 181X 2023 to declare October 2023 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Columbus, and to recognize the American Cancer Society for its advocacy and efforts to raise awareness and critical funds regarding breast cancer in Columbus and Central Ohio. 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. In 2023, an estimated 297,790 women and 2,800 men will be diagnosed with invasive breast cancer, as well as 55,720 new cases of non-invasive breast cancer. About 5 to 10% of breast cancers can be linked to known gene mutations inherited from one's mother or father. Mutations in the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes are the most common. On average, women with a BRCA1 mutation have up to a 72% lifetime risk of developing breast cancer. For women with a BRCA2 mutation, the risk is 69%. Breast cancer that is positive for the BRCA1 or BRCA2 mutations tends to develop more often in younger women. An increased ovarian cancer risk is also associated with these genetic mutations. In men, BRCA2 mutations are associated with a lifetime breast cancer risk of about 6.8%. BRCA1 mutations are a less frequent cause of breast cancer in men. Breast cancer death rates have been decreasing steadily since 1989 due to increased awareness, improved treatment options, as well as improved mammography screenings, which helps detect breast cancer early. There are more than 4 million breast cancer survivors in the United States today, so now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus that the Council does hereby recognize the importance of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it salutes the American Cancer Society for their continuous work to raise awareness and critical funds regarding breast cancer in Columbus, Ohio, and throughout the country. Thank you to our guests from the American Cancer Society for joining us this evening. Allison Katter-Heinrich is the Associate Director of Development for ACS. Allison, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today and for all of you wearing your pink ribbons to represent Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and for Councilmember Remy for championing our efforts. As mentioned, my name is Allie Katter-Heinrich. I serve as the Associate Director of Development for the American Cancer Society here in Columbus. I'm here with my colleagues today, as well as a few survivors in the back room as well. And then later this evening, we'll be joined by even more survivors, thrivers, caregivers, and supporters as we light City Hall pink and take a moment to remember those we've lost in this awful battle. When I share with people that I work for the American Cancer Society, whether I'm at a networking event or on an airplane traveling, people almost always share their personal cancer story with me. 1 in 4 people will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime, but everyone has been affected some way, somehow. As staff partners, we are no different. In my 4.5 years at the American Cancer Society, I've lost an aunt, my dad's twin sister, to cancer, and my childhood best friend lost her dad, leaving behind a wife, 3 daughters, and a granddaughter. Most recently, we unfortunately have lost a colleague to breast cancer as of Friday night after she battled for 3 years. She worked for the American Cancer Society for 18, so spent the majority of her life fighting this terrible disease that eventually took her. We all have our individual whys, why we keep going, and why we fight. As it relates to breast cancer, as mentioned, 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. Mothers, daughters, grandmothers, aunts, in addition to the men that will be diagnosed. Here at ACS, we are working hard to make sure that when people now hear the words, "you have breast cancer," they know that there are treatment plans in place and a support system that will be there throughout your entire journey and beyond. We are funding $1.58 million in breast cancer research right here in Central Ohio at the James Comprehensive Cancer Center, and over $78 million in breast cancer research nationally. While people are going through their treatment, we have free lodging through our Hope Lodge programs so patients and their caregivers have a home away from home where they don't have to worry about cooking meals, clean sheets, or how they're going to afford a place to stay while they're fighting. For those who don't have loved ones that can take them to their treatment, we have our Road to Recovery program where they can receive free rides to and from with a trained volunteer. When my aunt went through her treatment far away in Chicago, her Road to Recovery driver became one of her lifelines. Her driver became more than a ride. She delivered groceries to her. She knew how my aunt would feel after treatment, if she'd be ready for a Starbucks or a cookie, and became a confidant that she could connect to. While we have so many resources for those currently undergoing treatment, we know that the way we are going to really defeat this horrible disease is through screenings and early detection. Women need to be scheduling their annual mammograms, performing self-breast exams, listening to their bodies, and looking for those key indicators and meeting with their doctors when concern arises. With this resolution and going pink in October, we're bringing awareness to a disease that affects so many, letting thrivers, survivors, and caregivers know we stand with them and honor those who have lost their courageous battle but made a lasting impact. Again, thank you to the City of Columbus for standing with us as we work to end breast cancer as we know it for everyone.
Thank you so much, Allison, for your testimony this evening. Of course, this is very personal for me. A little over 20 years ago, my wife was talking to her very best friend, who happened to be a genetic counselor, who noticed some irregularities in her father's side of things and suggested that he go get tested for the BRCA gene, and of course was positive, BRCA1 positive. My wife and my sister-in-law both had a 50-50 shot of being positive as well, and they both ended up being positive. My wife is now a previvor, had a double mastectomy while I was serving on council, and my sister-in-law is now a survivor, having beaten cancer, diagnosed last October. So very happy for what has occurred, but certainly know how important it is for screening and for everyone that to be very, very aware and take this very, very seriously. If it wasn't for my sister-in-law's, rigorous and continual examinations, they wouldn't have been so fortunate to catch it so early. So always love to take this opportunity to raise awareness and make sure that everybody understands the importance of this, because it is such a nasty disease. So we really thank you for coming down tonight. Do any of my colleagues have any comments this evening? Seeing none, I move for adoption.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
For my second resolution this evening, I would like to call up our partners from the Franklin Soil and Water Conservation, as I read, Resolution 182, 2023, to recognize and designate Stormwater Awareness Week 2023 in Columbus, Ohio. The city of Columbus is facing increasingly frequent and intense rainfall due to climate change and is committed to taking action to fight and adapt to these effects through the Columbus Climate Action Plan. Population growth, residential and commercial development, and the resulting changes to the landscape will only increase stormwater quality and quantity concerns throughout Columbus. The Department of Public Utilities has invested significantly in the Blueprint Columbus initiative to reduce sewer overflows while investing in our neighborhoods and local economy to redirect stormwater to the streets where pollutants are filtered out by the green infrastructure before flowing to our rivers and streams. The development and implementation of effective outcomes-based stormwater education and outreach programs administered by the City and Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District will meet federal stormwater pollution control requirements in those of the communities they serve, so that Columbus continues to be a great place to live, work, and play. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus that this council joins soil and water conservation districts and communities across Ohio in recognizing the first week of October as Stormwater Awareness Week. So thank you to our guests, Jennifer Fish and David Reuter from the Franklin County Soil and Water Conservation District for joining us this evening. The floor is yours.
I'm Jennifer Fish, Director with Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District. And thank you so much for your partnership on stormwater and natural resource outreach and education. Our work in the City of Columbus includes providing education programming in schools, providing incentives and education to residents through our Community Backyards program, and providing mini grants and incentives to businesses to reduce rainwater runoff and keep our streams and rivers healthy. I have Dave Reuter, our stormwater specialist, here today to talk to you about Stormwater Awareness Week.
Good evening, Council. I just want to say thank you for your participation in Stormwater Awareness Week. You know, this is the time of year that we go out and see our local officials and try to, remind them of the importance of our stormwater infrastructure. When you look around the world and how things are changing, because we have this infrastructure now has helped a lot. Other places don't have that, and we're seeing a lot of those effects in those different areas. So with that change in precipitation that we're getting, keeping on top of this is something that we do. We take very passionately. We work with residents on a daily basis on drainage calls and things they might be able to do. And with that, feel free to call us if there's ever issues environmentally or stormwater-wise. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We know we get our fair share of complaints when flooding occurs throughout the city, so we appreciate the work that you do. Director Atha, do you have any words you'd like to share about this important work?
Thank you, Councilmember Remy, Council President Hardin, and members. I would love to just give some great thanks to our great partners at Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District, Jennifer and Dave and the entire team there as we work together around this issue all year long. We want to thank you for recognizing this important week that impacts our daily operations at the Department of Public Utilities. We're committed to making the necessary investments to have resilient and environmentally friendly infrastructure that supports the health and well-being of our community when it storms. I also want to commend the staff and contractors who implement our blueprint work around the city and our often unsung heroes at the Division of Sewers and Drains who work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to maintain our storm and sewer infrastructure and treat stormwater that comes through our treatment facilities in the city. I encourage all of our residents to check out Franklin Soil and Water and discover all the wonderful resources that they offer for the community and learn how you can help keep our waterways and our streams clean and support our community. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. I know, again, I want to applaud the work that the city's doing for Project Blueprint, the way that that has transformed in, Clintonville and Linden and the Hilltop, and where, the work continues. I know, I will admit that there were some of those rain gardens that I didn't think were going to turn out to be very nice, but give it a couple of years, and I tell you what, they look great now on all the streets that I've seen them on. So just got to let the vegetation grow up a little bit. So anyway, I appreciate your work in continuing Project Blueprint. Are there any comments? Yes, Councilmember Banks.
I just want to thank you, Councilmember Remy and Director Atha, for bringing this and shedding light on it. This is really like the not sexy thing that folks want to talk about. Like when we go to the voters every year, we talk about clean drinking water and utility bills and all of this, but it's actually the most critical infrastructure for us. I mean, when we think about everything else that we want as a community and society, rec centers and all of the things that happen above ground, it's really what's happening underground that is so important, that allows us to have the type of city that we want, not just for today's residents, but for that growing population that's going to be here. So such a critically important thing to think about. And always top of mind for us to safe, clean drinking water for our residents. So thank you all for the work that you do, and congratulations on receiving this. And again, thank you for elevating this to us today.
Thank you for recognizing that. I think that's important that we elevate that topic.
Thank you once again. We appreciate you. I move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember. Before we move on with tonight's agenda, I want to invite two of my good friends to come forward. Former President Pro Tem of Columbus City Council and the current President CEO of the YWCA, Councilmember President CEO Liz Brown, and my good friend, Ms. Mallory Donaldson. It's so hard. I wanted to, so it's always a good time, a good evening when we get to recognize folks who are leading in our communities, but it's even better when it's a personal friend. I wanted to recognize, and we passed a resolution last week or a couple weeks ago, and had the opportunity to honor Ms. Mallory Donaldson. Mallory was recently appointed to the National YWCA Board, and why that is significant, and I'll go through her accolades, but why I thought it was important for us as a community to celebrate this appointment, but really take time and hold space in council is when you think of the mission of the YWCA and the work that they do to eliminate racism and support women, and you think about where we are in our country and specifically where we are in this state right now. The conversations about rolling back reproductive rights, the conversations that are happening at the State House, threatening people of color, threatening what or pulling back on what can be taught about history in our communities. I thought it was encouraging at the least, but maybe even inspiring to some of us to have one of our own now leading the fight on the national level as we do our own part, even this November. To protect our communities. And so Mallory is well equipped for this fight. For the last 15 years, she has used her professional career to serve our community. She has served as executive director of operations for Archie and Bonita Griffin Foundation Fund since 2014. She's a former board member of the YWC Columbus and the Archie Griffin Scholarship Fund. She serves on the Resource Development Committee for Celebrate One, a recipient of Columbus CEO's Magazine's Future 50 class of 2021, Columbus Urban League's Her Story, and a recent graduate of African American Leadership Academy. She's also raised more than $3 million for nonprofit and foundations, and she served and chaired the development committee for the YWCA Columbus for the past 8 years, and is the current marketing and communications committee chair, and serves on the committee's nominating committee. And so, like I said, there's no one more equipped and more ready to serve the local, wide, state, and national, but also someone who inspires so many young people, young women in our community. And so we just wanted to take a moment to recognize Mallory and her accomplishments. I also asked President CEO Liz Brown to come and say a few words recognizing her friend and colleague, and then we'll turn it over to Mallory. So, Press Pro Tem.
Thank you, President Hardin, for inviting me here to celebrate Mallory. Mallory has been a stalwart of YWCA since she was born. Growing up like I did in the YWCA through the leadership of her mother, Janine Donaldson, but particularly in our community. Mallory's leadership on the board of YWCA Columbus came at a really critical time in the history of the organization. Her final year on the board was last year before I started. But those 6 years prior to this year, YWCA Columbus had a period of being tremendously tested and tremendously acing that test. And it was because of dedicated board leadership and dedicated staff leadership that happened. So I'm deeply appreciative for how Mallory has helped to position our organization now to be one that can consistently focus on eliminating racism and empowering women. I'm also just so proud of her. Mallory and I have been friends since we were young children, and I'm really proud to see her trajectory of leadership. Not just because not at all because leadership promotes herself, but because leadership promotes the things she believes in. So I'm deeply grateful for her friendship, and without further ado.
Thank you, Liz. Council President Hardin, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am a simple servant leader. This is purpose-driven work, and we have much work to do at a national level as it relates to eliminating racism, empowering women, justice, peace, and dignity for all. And what better way than to start at home in Columbus? So if we want to continue to have Columbus be a great place to live, work, and play for all, again, that work starts here at home. I am just one of 3 actual board members from Columbus. So we also have Shannon Isom and Dion Riley, who serve at the YWCA national level on the board of directors. So again, we have much work to do, and I am continuously humbled and honored to do this on behalf of Columbus. So thank you.
Congratulations, my friend. Any of my colleagues? Councilmember Bankser.
I just want to say congratulations. I know that this is uncomfortable for you because if anyone knows Mallory, she is just a quiet storm and is really about doing the work. And that's really why I'm excited to see you there, because I know that with your voice there, the voice of all women in this community are elevated to that level. So thank you for everything that you've done to prepare for this moment. And thank you for everything that you're going to bring forward to advance women's rights in this country and in this community. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Sure.
So Mallory and I got to sit on the board of the YWCA for 5 whole minutes until, interestingly enough, while you were going off to do your last year, I was coming here to do this. So not bad, kid, for me and you. But I just wanted to say, echo my colleagues and just saying congratulations, because, I mean, this is like what we want, right? We want to be able to like invest in leaders here and have those talents go out into the world, because we reap the best benefits from it, right? Like we all do, both on the national scale, like you're literally making the world better, but then you're doing it also right here at home, and you get to stay here at home, and that is the best of both worlds. So just thank you for all of your leadership. Thank you for your friendship, and so excited for you, so excited for us, and so excited for, most importantly, the why and all of the gifts that you will bring from your leadership on the board.
Thank you. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
And lastly, in terms of announcements, it is Crime Prevention Month, and I want to give a reminder about our upcoming hearings hosted by our Public Safety Committee and Chair Remy. Our first hearing is tomorrow, October 3rd at 4:30 p.m. The topic will be the alternative crisis response. We have a second hearing, which is 1 week from tomorrow on Tuesday, October 10th at 4 p.m., focused on violence prevention and violence reduction. Both of the hearings can be found live on the City of Columbus YouTube and Facebook page. If you would like to speak at either hearing, please RSVP to Kaylin Pittman at cdpittman at columbus.gov by noon on the day of the hearing. So look forward to having folks participate in those hearings. Are there any comments by City Attorney's Office, by the Treasurer's Office? Hearing none, are there any requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance or resolution from tonight's consent agenda? Hearing none, may we now have a motion to waive reading of title of third-day legislation by the city clerk? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance number of third-day legislation on tonight's agenda?
Economic Development Committee, ordinances 2524, 2616, 2617, 2619-2023. Small and Minority Business Committee, ordinances 2620, 2637, 2650, 2653-2023. Public Service and Transportation Committee, Resolution 180X-2023, and ordinances 2504, 2529, 2607, 2608, 2648, 2665-2023, Neighborhoods and Immigrant, Refugee, and Migrant Affairs Committee, ordinances 2540, 2603-2023, Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinances 2373, 2464, 2468, 2567-2023, Public Utilities Committee, Resolution 165X-2023, ordinances 2331, 2438, 2474, 2532, 2549, 2550-2023, Building and Zoning Policy Committee, Resolution 179X-2023, Housing Committee, ordinances 2226, 2501-2023, Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, ordinance 2589-2023, Health and Human Services Committee, ordinances 2587, 2649, 2674, 2681-2023, Zoning Committee, ordinances 2677, 2678, 2690-2023.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have several speakers on the first reading portion of the agenda. The first speaker to come before council is Holly Hollingsworth, speaking on ordinance 2617. Welcome to council. Just a reminder, you have 3 minutes, and if you state if you represent any organization or, thank you.
Good evening. I oppose ordinance 2617-2023, which would accept the application of Repar Properties LLC and Mark and Andrea Conkus to annex 2 parcels about 7.8 acres currently in Norwich Township. To start, Repar and the Conkuses no longer own these parcels. They're owned by 4747 Dublin LLC. Why that entity has not been required to file a new application is curious. 4747 Dublin purchased these parcels in August. Back in early May, hundreds of neighbors living on all sides of these parcels made clear to the principals of 4747 Dublin that their vision of creating irresponsible, incompatibly dense housing on this site was unacceptable due to environmental concerns, safety concerns, and more. Tim Dietrich of BZS Council Activities was at that meeting and can attest to the unanimity of the assembled Columbus residents as well as Norwich Township and Hilliard residents against this annexation and planned use. 4747 Dublin wants to annex to Columbus because they're optimistic that you will allow them to increase the number of housing units on these parcels by 7,633%. This along a road that has 1 lane of traffic traveling 45 miles per hour in each direction, no sidewalks, no public transportation available, and no stores, schools, or employers in walking distance. I stand before you representing a new nonprofit, the Scioto Property Owners Collective, or SPOC, and the hundreds of Columbus households that support our point of view. SPOC formed specifically out of concern over this annexation and inappropriate proposal. These parcels contain 2 tributary waterways that are less than 1,500 100 feet from their confluence with the Scioto. 4747 Dublin tells neighbors that paving over and building at high density on these acres will be okay because they'll use underground tanks to contain the runoff. But all of us in the area know very well the prevalent rock not far below the surface. This plan from these new developers is plainly ill-conceived. If this annexation is approved and 4747 Dublin's water runoff remediation plans are insufficient, the city of Columbus will be on the hook for damage that will occur to the dozens of families downstream. When drivers, cyclists, or pedestrians are hurt in this area where the city would now allow so-called medium density, but where infrastructure is clearly designed for very low density, who do you think is going to pay? Spoiler alert, it's not going to be 4747 Dublin LLC. The guiding principles of the city's own Columbus Citywide Planning Policies, or C2P2, call for higher density in areas with access to transit, which this proposed annexation area does not have. It calls for preservation of natural resources. It calls for enhancing the character of neighborhoods, which could be done if a density consistent with the 4 units per acre found in some parts of our already diverse housing area would be adhered to instead of 4 times that as proposed. Each of you has received a letter from the Norwich Township trustees calling on this body to disapprove this annexation and the conceptual site plans that these annexation applicants have offered. Multiple members of Hilliard City Council agree. The Norwich trustees offer reasonable concerns and requests. If this body cares about encouraging investment in your neighborhoods, as each of you has claimed, you'll understand I and hundreds of others are invested in this area. We will fight in favor of smaller scale multi-unit homes that would offer development that is responsible, compatible, and appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hollingsworth. I see that you're also signed up to speak on ordinance 2619. Would you like to just do that now while you're here?
Completely up to you.
Sure.
Not surprisingly, we also oppose Ordinance 2619-2023. At least this one actually lists 4747 Dublin LLC as the applicant. I have lived in this area for more than 20 years. Where were you 20 years ago? It's a long time. This means a lot. Here's the opportunity that's in front of you. Greater Columbus needs housing. If you annex these parcels and insist on increasing housing by 1,900%, that's 4 units per acre. Then you've created great new opportunities in a way that does not compromise natural resources or safety. These areas do have room for new housing and additional residents that we would welcome. You have to be the adult in the room and insist it is done in a way that is responsible, compatible, and appropriate. Won't the City of Columbus's housing objectives be better met by demonstrating that you can and will ensure safety and continued investment? Imagine having an excellent example of how attractive and compatible new housing can be developed in a manner that collaborates with neighbors and with neighboring jurisdictions. Isn't that a win? Or would you rather keep building what cannot be safely and economically sustained? Tuttle Mall is pretty close to the area we're talking about. What do you want your legacy to be? Each of you has had to visit Columbus neighborhoods and beg people there to be involved, to discourage violence, to be invested. You have not had to do that in the pieces of Columbus that touch Norwich Township and made this annexation possible. Do you need another area that requires that attention? Or do you want to embrace the neighbors that are already invested here, work with us, and make this a magnificent success story that offers wonderful new additional housing that lets more families experience the same strengths that drew and kept all of us who are already there? You are not doing that if you, by annexing and then changing the foundational strengths of this area, offer some different version of housing to new families here. You're not giving anyone the opportunity to really be part of what we have been part of for decades. Diversity is a real and important concept for people and for housing. 3-story buildings that look like army barracks are not the only type of housing people want or aspire to have. It is within your capability to do something better here, and we are ready to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hollingsworth. I see that we have one more speaker from SPOC who is here. Mr. Miller, you want to come speak on behalf of SPOC? Mr. Miller is speaking on ordinance 2619 as well.
Yes, that is correct.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, President All right. Council members, I'm also speaking in opposition to 2619 and by proxy 2617, which encompass the property that is subject to the annexation into the city of Columbus as the first step of approval for the new Rock Run development on Dublin Road. I am speaking on behalf of SPOC as well, in addition to the previous speaker, Holly. And that represents, as she mentioned, hundreds of property owners directly impacted by the proposed annexation. I also speak as a City of Columbus resident, and I acknowledge the city is facing unprecedented growth over the next generation, and that's not an easy task to solve. It will require this city council and future city leaders to find every opportunity to increase residential density throughout the city to address this growth. I also speak as a licensed architect that has spent the better part of my life focusing on the impact that buildings can have on a community, unfortunately, negatively at some times, but also positively. And I have years of experience in high-density multifamily housing, working with community members to make successful developments. In May, over 200 neighbors and community members were presented with the development plans and the conceptual site plan as a part of the annexation that are proposed to occupy the subject parcels. The property owner and development team could not answer one simple question when asked. How will this development strengthen the community in which it's being built? The community which Holly just mentioned has been present for decades. The question was asked 4 times over the course of this meeting, and it was unfortunately ignored all 4 times. Leaders in the adjacent jurisdictions of Hilliard and Norwich Township had voiced opposition to having have voiced opposition to this development. And they've had an opportunity to look past this administrative annexation process and look at the future impact this will have on the community and the safety and well-being of the community members. At the previous Franklin County Commissioner's hearing of this same annexation, the commissioner challenged the developer to work closely with the community and our group on this development. We're still waiting for that call. Each member of this council has promised its voters and city residents to work diligently to improve this community. So what would ignoring other local jurisdictions' recommendations against such annexation and issuing an approval of this and subsequent development say to your constituents? I ask that when each of you are asked to consider the action you're taking on this annexation, ask one question that matters that was left unanswered in that meeting. How does this proposed development strengthen the community in which it's being built? As designed and proposed, the density of the current proposal is environmentally irresponsible, incompatible with existing infrastructure in the neighborhoods, and does not appropriately provide a positive impact to the neighboring properties. It has been said that change is hard. I'd like to revise that a little bit. Unexpected change is hard. Change is hard if you do not prepare for it. Change is hard if you do not have a plan in place and you do not consider the opinions and perspectives of those that are directly impacted by that change. What is harder than change is to know you have a chance to implement a plan to ensure that this development is a positive improvement to the community, but you took no action. I urge this council to align themselves with the leaders of Norwich Township and vote against this annexation until that plan for change is in place. Thank you, council members.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Do any of my colleagues or the director have any comments? I would lean more towards waiting until this comes back up. This is first reading, so we can have a more full debate, but if someone likes to engage now, that's also fine. If not, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your testimony, and we look forward to engaging with you as we move the process along. And last, we have Mr. Nate Wilkins. Mr. Wilkins, welcome back to council.
Arlington Avenue, Mr. Lieutenant George Wilkins. I'm going to be in opposition of 2023. I'm going to be in opposition of this for several reasons why. We have a house listed in Land Bank for quite some time of 1338 Genesee Avenue. It was a vacant structure. I believe it was owned by somewhere in part of Cleveland at the time. I believe that was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. 1457 Genesee Avenue. I remember when I moved into my house at 1612 Arlington Avenue, Columbus, Ohio. This particular home was vacant and abandoned. It was occupied one time or another. It still sits as a vacant land to this day. I'm going to be in opposition for this for several reasons. Why? I took a walk down that block several times with certain houses that stood on that block was over 100 years old, such as 1638 of Genesee Avenue, 1606 of Genesee Avenue, and otherly, the other home was 1396 of Genesee Avenue. Was a cookie cutter home, was very nice, was built over 100 years ago. I would be in favor of there's 3 properties, but not the 2 on Genesee Avenue, because at that time, it brought me to that area on Arlington and Genesee and Myrtle Avenue area, because the different architect and design. Down the street from that block of 1457 of Genesee Avenue, somebody had bought a house in the 1300 block of Genesee Avenue, was built in 1900s. And I believe today that house is being worked on. That's one of the oldest houses on that block today in the 1300 block of Genesee Avenue. Minnesota Avenue, 1406. I don't know too much about that property. You have several properties on Minnesota Avenue, 1504. I believe 1504 was a vacant and abandonment house. It had some trouble with it and everything else. The city came along and tore it down. If Habitat is coming in here and purchasing all these empty lots, I just want to see something for multi-disability, visually impaired, and multi-handicapped, or people getting out of jail or prison population to be at a percentage of a 97% of reproduction as they get on their feet, or either alcohol and drug reduction for those people. We always talk about houses are not being built, but we got these vacant and abandonment lots around Columbus, Ohio, and vacant and abandonment lots in the city of Columbus. In closing, I want to come up with a new entity. This can be a few minutes. Gotta get a few minutes. VLDS, which stands for Land Bank. The other idea, which stands for R for running, E for I, D for development. D also, which stands for deceased property owners for vacant
Mr.
and
Wilkins,
abandoned property.
if it's okay, since you're signed up to speak for a non-agenda, if we can finish your, all right, thank you so much, my friend. Are there any other, I apologize. The following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent action. Will the clerk now read those into the record?
Resolutions of expression 183X, 185X-2023, Neighborhoods and Immigrant, Refugee, and Migrant Affairs Committee, Ordinance 2591-2023, Veterans, Senior, and Disability Affairs Committee, Ordinance 2425-2023, Education Committee, Ordinances 2492 and 2498-2023, Public Utilities Committee, Ordinances 1525, 2402, 2415, 2482, 2497-2023, Housing Committee, Ordinances 2480 and 2590-2023, appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0172, 173, and 174-2023.
Are there any questions or comments about the consent portion of the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Consent agenda is approved. We will now proceed with second reading of 30-day postponed and emergency legislation. The only committee to come before council tonight is the Health and Human Service Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Barosa de Padilla this evening.
We have one ordinance this evening in Health and Human Services. That's Ordinance 2450-2023 to authorize and direct the Board of Health to accept grant funds from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in the amount of $3,359,181 and any additional funds for the Ryan White Part A HIV Care Grant Program to authorize the appropriation of $3,359,181 and any additional funds awarded from the unappropriated balance of the Health Department Grants Fund to authorize the city auditor to transfer appropriations between object classes for the Ryan White Part A HIV Grant CARE Grant Program and to authorize the expenditure of said grant funds. The Ryan White Part A HIV CARE Grant purpose is to improve access to medical care for persons living with HIV or AIDS living in Central Ohio. The goal is that each client will achieve viral suppression, which improves their quality of life and reduces the risk of spreading the infection. The grant will enhance medical services for both somatic and behavioral health, pay for HIV-related doctor's visits, mental health services, substance abuse services, and other services allowable by the grant, and strengthen the case management and linkage to care programs at Columbus Public Health. Do any of my colleagues have questions or comments? If not, I move for passage.
Speaker. We have a speaker.
Oh, we do have a speaker? I'm so sorry.
You're good.
Mr. Muhammad, you want to come up? Thank you, council member. Welcome back to council.
Hey, good evening. Hey, thank you for welcoming me back. First off, I'd like to commend you guys on a great job that y'all doing. I am for this passage right here, and the reason why I'm for this passage is because I believe that actually that it's a problem in Franklin County with AIDS. I just believe that a little bit more of the money could be directed towards prevention and education. And I wrote a little something, so I'm about to try my little speech real quick. There used to be a policy where there was no child left behind in the city, and there, used to be a saying that it takes a village to raise a child. And we all heard about the school to prison pipeline. We watched the drugs and crime ravage the neighborhoods. And to some people, they believed that gentrification was the answer, and closing community centers and schools and different things like that. Well, while all that stuff has been happening, AIDS has been on the rise in Franklin County. And I believe as a community, we all share responsibility for turning a blind eye to the problems that affect the inner city, that have been affecting the inner city for 20 years and that keeps on going on. And as these problems persist, it makes me wonder if the current plan of action is effective. Again, I commend this council on the changes that it has made, and I believe that the council can we can work together to do more for for our children, so that our children are not plagued by the same problems that we face as a child. AIDS is nonpartisan. It's not Democratic or Republican. AIDS don't care whether you're male, female, black, white, or whatever. So I believe that everyone can come in on this issue. There were 196 new cases of AIDS in Franklin County in 2022. And me personally, I believe that this increase is due to the lack of education and lack of resources such as condoms in the inner city of Franklin County. And I'm just asking this council if they can help me to spread awareness and the importance of safe sex in Franklin County. I know the price of condoms are very high, and I know that you have to go to the Columbus Health Department in order to pick up condoms. But I believe that with this new sexuality thing going on at the same time, that there needs to be a push for some type of contraceptives or some type of protection or some type of education for the kids. That's if we all trying to stop AIDS. And again, I commend you, and I'm grateful, and I hope that y'all do something with that $3 million I was seeing down on there. And yeah, that's about my time. I ain't really got. You want to say anything? You sure? Okay, well, he don't want to say nothing right now, but I'm getting him prepped to be able to say something. So hopefully next week he'll have his notes down and he'll be able to talk. And that's it, man. Thank you. And I don't know how y'all do this, man. I was ready to fall asleep back there. And big up to the lady, somebody, y'all doing the water, y'all doing breast cancer, y'all doing all these wonderful things down here. And hey, yo, I'm with you too about that annexation thing. I just want to let her know that I don't know where they at, but I'm with her, and y'all have a wonderful day. And I'll see y'all next week.
Mr. Mohammed, I do want to introduce you to, there's someone from our Columbus Public Health Department, one of our assistant directors. I would encourage you to connect with him before you leave here today, because he can also share with you some of the great programming that we have. This particular piece of legislation is a particular grant fund, so it is a bit of a pass-through. So it's not $3 million that's up for grabs for specific programming. I just wanted to point that out because you were so generous with all of your recommendations, and I want to be sure that we are generous back with our knowledge or sharing the knowledge around the structures and the things that we have in place as well. But I would encourage you to go back and meet our assistant director because they are some of the best advocates that are out there doing the work that you're talking about today. Thank you for coming to council, and thank you for being a great role model to our young people. With that, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. That's all in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Seeing no further business coming before council, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. Mr. Wilkins, if I'd have realized that
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Dorrance chairs that committee. All members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Before beginning tonight's zoning agenda, first a little bit of housekeeping. Will the clerk please read numbers of legislation in the zoning committee tonight that requires waiver of second reading?
Yes, ordinance 2627, 2630, 2642, and 2655-2023.
Thank you. I first move to waive second reading on those items.
Second. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
Thank you. Now allow me to briefly explain our current rules pertaining to speaking for council on rezonings and variances. We will only hear a staff presentation for ordinance that have a disapproval from a recommending body, or if you have a public speaker signed up to speak against an ordinance. All speakers on the council variance, including city staff, area commissioners, applicants, and members of the public, will be sworn in before they give testimony. Representatives of an area commission and applicants are always able to speak on an ordinance and do not need to fill out a speaker slip. We have received one public speaker slip for tonight's meeting. And on the advice of the city attorney, I will now swear in city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, nothing but the truth, as you shall answer in a pains or penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that Tim Dietrich from the Department of Building and Zoning Services and Dan Bleshman from the Department of Public Service have been sworn in. First, we have ordinance 2627 to rezone 5601 Winchester Pike, being 94.55 plus acres located on both the east and west sides of Winchester Pike, 3,570 plus feet north of Bryce Road, from R Rural District to LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District. Proposed use a multi-unit residential development with potential up to 952 housing units. The applicant is Tamarack Land LLC, care of Molly Gwynn, attorney. They have full approvals from the city departments, the Development Commission, and the Greater Southeast Area Commission. We do have one public speaker signed up tonight to speak against this ordinance. So before we hear from them, we'll have a staff presentation. Mr. Dietrich, the floor is yours.
The 94.55 acre site consists of 2 undeveloped parcels zoned in the R Rural District as the result of recent annexation into the city of Columbus. The requested LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District will permit the construction of a multi-unit residential development with up to 12 dwelling units per acre. This site is located within the planning area of the Southeast Land Use Plan, which recommends low-density residential, medium to low-density residential, and private open space. The limitation text commits to a maximum density, building and parking setbacks, building height, traffic access and improvements, and contributions, private streets, sidewalks, landscaping, building materials and features, lighting controls, parkland dedication, and also includes commitments to develop the site in accordance with the submitted sub-area plan, landscaping exhibits, and building elevations. Staff notes the net density of 12 dwelling units per acre is greater than the plan's recommendation. However, landscaping commitments along Winchester Pike and Bachman Road are consistent with Columbus citywide planning policies design guidelines. Additionally, the applicant is including 10 acres of parkland dedication and is satisfying numerous traffic commitments as requested by both the Department of Public Service and the Franklin County Engineer's Office, and therefore we are in approval.
Thank you, Mr. Dietrich. Any questions from my colleagues for the department at this time? Seeing none, I would invite the applicants to present on this request. Ms. Molly Gwynn, would you like to come to the podium? Welcome back to council, Ms. Gwynn.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Council President Harden and Chair Dorrance, for the opportunity to present. My name is Molly Gwynn. I'm the attorney for the applicant, Tamarack Land Development, and present with me also is Mr. Joe Luby, Senior Architect and Planner from EMH&T. And we're here tonight to talk about Bachman Farms. This is plus or minus 95 units in the Greater Southeast Area Commission, and this is workforce, senior, and attainable housing for the Southeast side. Just to throw out some statistics that I know that everyone on this board is already intimately aware of, Central Ohio's population is expected to exceed 3 million by 2050. The region will see about 726,000 additional people, and 80% of Central Ohioans currently enjoy a commute time of less than 35 minutes to work. And to preserve that convenience, we need to strive to develop housing near jobs and jobs near housing. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that thoughtful land planning is also critical to improving air quality, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and protecting our rivers, lakes, and streams from chemical runoff and stormwater impact. So the most important thing here is that estimates indicate that permitting activity needs to increase twofold from recent trends to meet projected housing needs. And about 41.2% of renter-occupied households are currently cost overburdened. That is, 30% of their income is dedicated to gross housing costs. And so obviously our challenges with affordability are enhanced by the lack of available housing. And so now what we've all been waiting for, how does Bachman Farms solve this problem? This is a $258 million investment on the southeast side. As indicated, this does have a recommendation of approval from planning staff, as well as from the Division of Traffic Management, as well as from the Development Commission. We also obtained a recommendation of approval from the Greater Southeast Area Commission. And we do have a mix of housing options here, both workforce and senior apartments. The units that are going to be in subareas 1 and 2, subarea 1 is fully age restricted, and subarea 2 also allows for 55 and plus over. This is just some data on what workforce rents look like. I won't bore everyone with that, but suffice it to say, these rents are going to be affordable for 50%, 60%, and 70% area median income groups. Just to speak a little bit generally as well to the plan, and I'll go ahead and pull up my copy of the site plan while I do that. So there is dedication of future right-of-way that is going to be set aside for the extension of Bachman Road, and you'll see that in subarea 1. Right there, we've got sort of subarea 1, there will be future right-of-way set aside for that area. We are preserving the existing floodplain. We are going to have a 10-foot wide shared use path that's going to be on the south side of Winchester Pike, as well as 5-foot sidewalks on the north side. We are, as indicated by staff, making needed contributions to both on-site traffic improvements, including the widening of Winchester Pike at the request of the County Engineer's Office, as well as contributions to off-site improvements that are required. We have some significant centralized open space and green spaces, including, as indicated, 10 acres of dedicated parkland and the amenitization of both subareas 4, 2, and 1, as indicated on the plan. We are also incorporating required C2P2 design standards for the project. And so, in short, we believe that Bachman Farms is going to provide additional housing at a variety of price points and for a variety of people. It will contribute to mitigating existing housing shortages and will help those who want to live and work in the city of Columbus. And just one more thing, as I indicated, this does have a recommendation of approval from the Southeast Area Commission, and we did incorporate the items requested by that board, including playgrounds, security cameras, and coordination regarding dumpsters and waste disposal facilities at the time of final site compliance. And with that, I'll just go ahead and take any questions from the commission, or the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gwynn. Any questions from colleagues at this time? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Gwynn. We'll call you up after we have our public speaker.
Thanks.
We will now hear from Mr. Thomas Moore. Mr. Moore, welcome to council. Come on up. Thanks for being here this evening. You have 3 minutes, and let us know if there's any organization you represent.
No organization. I'm just that little blip in their plan. I'm the guy. Anyway, Southeast is messed up traffic-wise. You know, I'm concerned about the population coming in with proper roads and everything, because I see old ladies coming down the street with cars buzzing by them at 55 because that's the legal speed limit where I'm at. I'm glad to see they're putting in sidewalks and everything. But there's more property or roadway that needs to be addressed than just this area, or we're going to attract even more accidents. That's all. But I like their widening proposal, you know. But I mean, come on. I mean, it's only like half a mile maybe of road frontage. You make it real nice, traffic amps up. And we're the only thoroughfare from Columbus to Lancaster, or, you know, an alternative, and 33 gets messed up still. And they've messed on the Hamilton Road 33 intersection, 270. All I'm saying, we have a history in the southeast having messed up areas, you know? Nobody has to die for builders' profits. That's all. I just want to make sure it's done right, and they've done a good job modifying the first time I seen them.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Any questions to my colleagues at this time for Mr.
Can
Moore?
you guarantee to hold them to what they just showed you?
Yeah, so I'm going to.
I mean, what kind of guarantees is that? I mean, is that your job, council, to
So-
enforce,
so-
or you just raise your hand?
Yep. So, Mr. Moore, how this works is that from a traffic impact statement, so when we talk about what is going to be required of them, so they will have to commit to certain types of entrance and exit improvements, again, to help the inflow and outflow from the project. They don't get their permits unless that's in the site plans. So, in order. Well, and again, if they don't, from an engineering standpoint, actually demonstrate, again, that to achieve what they've actually demonstrated the city right now, again, to accommodate the additional traffic that would be occur because of this, again, they can't bring the project out of the ground.
No, that's not, because you know there's a population increase coming, that's fine. You know? I understand, other than that, they seem like they're going to be really good neighbors.
Great. Well,
You
thank
know,
you.
I mean, but I just, you know,
Yeah.
I want to get the song and dance, because I've never, first time, I'm not even in Columbus, and I don't even know why I'm speaking to you, but thanks for listening. You know?
Well, thank you for being here, Mr. Moore.
All right.
Do want to pause and see if any of my colleagues would like any response from the applicant at this time. Again, the applicant has committed to improvements based upon the traffic access requirements that would happen with regard to the development. So certainly happy to call them back up, but at this point, yep. Great. Well, seeing none, at that point, I appreciate Mr. Moore here. I do think that the applicant here has done good work to make sure that a development of the size will be well accommodated within the area. So therefore, I move for passage at this time.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, moving to our council variance portion of the agenda, we have variance 2630-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 Residential District, 3332.05 A4 Area District Lot Width Requirements, 3332.13 R3 Area District Requirements, and 3312.49 minimum number of parking spaces required for the Columbus City Codes of property located at 155 East Maynard Avenue, permit a 2-unit dwelling with reduced development standards in the R3 Residential District. The requested council variance will permit a 2-unit dwelling or duplex to be constructed on a site with 2 affordable housing units at 50 to 80% AMI. For a single individual, that is $35,000 to $55,000. The applicant is Healthy Linden Homes, care of Emily Long Rayfield. They have the full approval from the city departments and South Area Linden Commission. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2642-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 Residential District, the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1443 East 19th Avenue, permitted 2-unit dwelling in the R3 Residential District. The requested council variance will permit a 2-unit dwelling or duplex to be constructed on the site with 2 affordable housing units. Again, this is at 50-80% AMI. Once again, that's $35,000 to $55,000 for a single individual. The applicant is Healthy Homes Linden, care of Emily Long Rayfield. They had the full approval of city departments and South Linden Area Commission as well. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you. And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. The final piece of legislation is ordinance 2655-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.037 R2F Residential District, 3312.03D Administrative Requirements, 3312.21 AD1 Landscaping and Screening, 3312.27 Parking Setback Line, and 3312.49C Minimum Number of Parking Spaces Required, 3321.05A2 and B12 Vision Clearance, 3332.18 D Basis of Computing Area, 3332.21 Building Lines, 3332.25 Max Side Yards Required, and 3332.26 Minimum Side Yard Permitted. The Columbus City Codes for property located at 240 East Cothas Street to permit a eating and drinking establishment and associated parking and reduced development standards in the R2F Residential District, and repeal ordinance number 1994-77 passed November 14th of 1977. The requested council variance will permit the expansion of an existing building to add an additional cooler/freezer, conform existing conditions to permit the associated parking. The applicant is the Fred J. Schmidt Packing Company, care of Catherine A. Cunningham. They provided full approval from city departments and the German Village Commission. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Yes. Yeah, just to note, we do have a speaker signed to speak on the ordinance. However, that's the applicant. And since we don't have any opposition to this, they've gladly allowed us to keep moving with the meeting. So thank you to them. Have we adopted the findings of staff at this point? Okay, thank you. And finally, I want to move for passage at this time.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
And with that, that is all we have in the zoning committee this evening. President Harden.
See no further business coming for zoning. Is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.